All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick and Taylor Kyles here for CLNS Media, back with another live episode of the Patriots Daily Podcast, powered by 3 sponsors today. We got PrizePicks, we got GameTime, and we got a new one this week over at Omaha Steaks, fueling us talking about this Patriots dominant win over the Carolina Panthers. If you didn't already see, which I'm sure you have, the Pats improved to 2-2 this weekend with a 42-13 shellacking is what I called it in my notes. A 42-13 shellacking of the Carolina Panthers on Sunday. Again, getting to 2-2 and setting themselves up for a banger of a game next Sunday in Buffalo against the Bills, adding some fuel to what will be a game that actually truly matters next Sunday. So super exciting stuff in and around the New England Patriots. I know Taylor's fired up. I'm certainly fired up. Feels like the Patriots have a quarterback. There were a lot of themes around this game that stood out to me. Obviously, Drake played incredibly efficient football. Currently leads the NFL in completion percentage, which certainly a promising stat there. No turnovers from the offense, and Marcus Jones' ability to be a game changer was certainly one of those themes of this game. So what we're going to do here on the show today is we're going to break it all down. We're going to start with Drake Maye. We're going to talk about a couple areas for improvement, a couple areas for optimism on this Patriots team, which there was certainly a ton yesterday in Foxboro. And then we're going to round it all up with a quick rookie report, looking at all of what we saw from the Patriots rookies on Sunday, from Will Campbell all the way down to Andy Borregales, the kicker, who went 6 of 6 on field goals. So I do want to start with Drake Maye, though, Taylor. We'll get I don't want to say we'll get the quarterback out of the way, but that is what everybody wants to hear about, of course, because of how promising yesterday was. He goes 14 of 17 passing, 203 yards, a touchdown, a rushing touchdown, showed an ability to extend plays once again, rolls out on a bootleg, scores a touchdown, does the super camp celebration. Mike Vrabel talks about Drake Maye this morning, says that, yes, he's throwing to the guys that are open, but also talks about his ability to extend those plays and how that really helps them as an offense as a whole. So what did you see from the quarterback? How exciting was another game of 3 total touchdowns and no turnovers for Drake Maye? And what were your overall thoughts breaking down the film from what you saw from the quarterback on Sunday?
Yep. Mike was all the way on the other side.
It's okay.
But I really just appreciated the efficiency. And I loved that he wasn't dropping back 50 times. It's so much nicer when you're going over tape and there's not like a chunk of 50 plays for one thing, whether it's like run game or pass game, because at some point it just starts to feel overwhelming a little bit. So this was a nice, tight game script where you got to see Josh McDaniels with the playbook wide open for the entire game, which we haven't gotten to see throughout this season so far. There's obviously been some times, but and then just Drake Maye, I'm going to go over my notes of the things I thought he did well. It wasn't a perfect game, of course, but it's more nitpicky than anything when you consider what he was able to do when he did connect. Good decision on his scramble on the first touchdown. Loved the awareness from Austin Hooper to be like, you know what? Drake probably should just tuck this and run to turn around and block. Austin Hooper was fantastic in this game as a blocker. I really liked what I saw from him. Anticipation throw to Hunter Henry in the low red zone. So the Panthers sent a blitz. Drake threw into it very quickly, but it was a tight window where like any inaccuracy or any mistake on that play could have been a red zone turnover. So really good throw by him to get it out as Hunter Henry was making his break on kind of a spacing concept. He moved off a busted quick concept where they made a check pre-snap, but Mac Hollins didn't get it. So he wound up actually run blocking and standing right where Hunter Henry's route wound up. So Drake went to the backside, was able to find Kayshon Boutte, who had kind of settled into a void in the coverage. Wasn't a great throw. If it was better, Kayshon Boutte could have made a much bigger play out of it. But for the most part, it was really good awareness from Drake to go front to back, then be able to just be a playmaker, which you love to see from him. The 3rd and 15 conversion where he hits Stephon Diggs over the middle after he had actually scrambled for a conversion on 3rd and 5, Travion Henderson got called for holding. And the most impressive part of that play, actually, when I went back, is I realized that it was the same concept that he had missed Kayshon Boutte on earlier. That thing where he kind of does the motion and then he runs the dagger. That time, or the first time rather, when he missed Boutte, they jumped Diggs's route. The other time, they had a little bit more space over the middle, so Drake was able to capitalize. I was impressed there. The last second kind of flick to Hunter Henry between a couple defenders where Hunter Henry kind of slid past the guy who I think was covering him. It looked like a situation where they
kind of playing both of them, it looked like almost.
Right, because J.C. Horn was behind, but I just can't imagine that should have been who he had considering where the linebacker was. But either way, really good instinctual play from those two. Also, that was Hunter Henry's first touchdown of 20 or more yards since 2023 against the Steelers. That throw where Bailey Zappi may or may not have thrown a dot. He didn't do that on purpose. So that was his first explosive touchdown since that game, which I thought was pretty wild. I was like, when's the last time we saw Hunter Henry really rumble? So great job by Drake, again, being a playmaker and flicking that off to him. And then the aggressive fourth down back shoulder. That's one of my favorite plays of Drake Maye's career. We were talking about it before the game released. I was like, I feel like those fourth downs.
Yeah, they're going to bite him in the ass.
They didn't have to go for a ton, but when they did, Drake Maye with great execution and a great job by Stephon Diggs, who actually had a step. I think Drake could have led him if he wanted to, but made the safer throw relatively on the back shoulder, a throw that we didn't see them have much of a connection on this summer. So nice to see that. And then in terms of some of the negatives, just to be fair, he was nearly intercepted throwing behind Kayshon Boutte on a dig route on that first third down. He acknowledged it. Mike Vrabel acknowledged it. Just be better. Move on. Skipped a downfield pass to a wide open Stephon Diggs. There was a muddy pocket, and you could see his footwork kind of broke down, and he just tried to kind of get it out with his feet not under him. That could have been an even bigger play for Stephon Diggs, who caught every other downfield target that went his way. But again, just really good to see Stephon Diggs and Drake Maye actually seeing him and taking advantage of those opportunities where they say it's going to be a different guy every week. I thought it was going to be Hunter Henry again because he's been the guy against zone, but this week it was Stephon Diggs and he made the most of his opportunities. Might have had Austin Hooper on the play where he ended up running and getting sacked because he came off of it pretty early, but Hooper was kind of sneaking behind the coverage. I feel like if Drake had put some air on that with a little bit of touch, a throw we know he's capable of, he probably could have had another explosive there, but it was one of very few misses I thought he had on the day from a progression perspective. Also thought he had Stephon Diggs on what looked like a juke route, but he scrambled when he saw a soft edge. Brian Hoyer actually retweeted the play because it's one they've had success on. They scored on it last week with Hunter Henry. And then they ran it earlier in the year. He had a back shoulder fade to Kayshon Boutte on the backside. So there was just some hesitation there, and Brian Hoyer said that that is a staple concept for them, and he might not have seen Diggs because of what was going on in front of him and maybe just kind of felt an opportunity to get out there. So that was it. But for the most part, again, very efficient performance from Drake Maye, and it was just nice to see him not having to drop back a billion times because not only do I not enjoy breaking down 50 dropbacks, there's just so much shit going on. Your mind kind of glazes over. But also good that your quarterback wasn't a lot of bad situations or obvious passing situations. Like when I went to the film, there were only 9 dropbacks that wasn't play action, a quick game, or a screen. And a lot of those, I think all but like 3, they had chip blocks where like Ramondre and or Hunter Henry were helping out the offensive tackles who didn't allow a pressure those two, Morgan Moses and Will Campbell, in the game. So when you're not forced to throw the ball constantly, you can put the quarterback in the offensive line in situations where they can look better and aren't in those high pressure, high leverage situations. So good stuff from Drake Maye. If he keeps this up and continues to improve, I said that it was too soon to talk about potential MVP talk, but if he goes into Buffalo next week, plays efficient football, and is explosive when he needs to be, like we saw him this week, you can't not talk about it when everybody's always comparing Drake Maye and Josh Allen. It's a really easy storyline to have, and if you beat the guy who's the reigning MVP in his house in prime time, that says a lot. That'll be a huge litmus test for Drake Maye. We know he hasn't really been able to capitalize in those kinds of situations. Like last year, it was a similar situation. Late prime time-ish. Was it a 4:00 game or an 8:00 game?
Against Buffalo?
It was dark.
It was dark, but I want to say it was like 4:25. It might have
probably was 4:25.
But it was late in the year, so it was already dark.
Right. But I mean, that was a game where they were in it for a while. And like I said on the show last night, the Patriots have been close with Buffalo recently. So yeah. I mean, again, if Drake Maye keeps this up, like the numbers say it, it's not like I'm just pulling this out of nowhere. I've been more critical of him, I think, than the numbers are. And I'm saying, like, he hasn't been that bad where you have to be like, oh, he isn't an MVP candidate. Because, again, if you win one of the big games, now you put yourself in the conversation of being taken seriously. So, yeah, just an impressive game from Drake. Another one where there was some meat left on the bone, but for the most part, it's really hard to complain when he didn't turn the ball over and made most of the throws that were there.
Yeah, he's been, is sensational too far. Like, it's all there. And I said it last night on the show, Drake Maye's here. Like, there's no, I think he'll still improve and continue to get better as a player, but like, he's playing outstanding football to start this second season.
Hyper efficient.
And that's the key, right? It's yes, he only threw 17 times and he only threw for 203 yards, which we'll get to in our first thing of optimism, which was the passing offense on Sunday. But like, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's just, they're not letting him unleash it and he's dinking and dunking. Like, he was a highly, highly efficient 14 of 17 in this game. He had the 2 touchdowns. We talked about the numbers you shared last night where he is with Peyton Manning and Kurt Warner and Aaron Rodgers as far as players who have completed 75% of their throws in 3 straight games, I believe it is, and had a touchdown. I think that's the number somewhere in there. But there's another one that I've come across too, and it's Drake Maye is the third. And here's a trivia question for you. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Drake Maye is the third quarterback in NFL history to have 135 plus passer rating, a passing touchdown, and a rushing touchdown in multiple games in a season. Who are the other 2 quarterbacks?
Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
Josh Allen.
Bingo. So like,
I didn't even know the stat.
Exactly. So you got it. But the numbers are there. Like, the production is there. The ability to go out and win games, we've seen it twice this season. And they lost week 1 and he didn't look comfortable. They lost week 3. Turnovers, partially his fault, also on the running backs. But like, don't make no mistake about it. This quarterback, he has the ability to win this team football games. And I know it's the Carolina Panthers. I don't care. He looked awesome, and he should only continue to go on an upward trajectory. Next week is ginormous. Huge game against Buffalo. Like you said, it puts him from second-year leap talk to MVP talk if they go win that game right away. And that's not hyperbole. That's not an exaggeration.
And another reason is because they do have, like, I always say this with Josh, like, you just need veterans who can do their job. If they catch the ball, they get open, that's it. Like, in block, do what you are asked. You will be okay. You don't need an elite tool set because he's so good at scheming these opportunities and creating space like he's always been. So right. You have the offensive coordinator who is going to maximize Drake. We're already seeing it. They're using like more moving pockets every week. It was really cool actually because this week or last week, it was a lot of outside zone stuff with moving pockets. This week, they did it while pulling the guard and simulating power and counter. And I've mentioned that before where when it's moving pockets, it's not just outside zone. You can do it with any run concept. And they're using it in the red zone. They're using it in some of these high leverage situations. So you have the OC to get Drake in those positions. And I think you have a solid enough veteran receiving core that, in those MVP talks, it's kind of like similar to Josh Allen, where most people can't name his receivers. The common fan does not know Keon Coleman. They don't know Khalil Shakir. They don't know Dalton Kincaid. Obviously, people know Stephon Diggs, but they know him as a guy who's probably towards the end of his career. And Kayshon Boutte hasn't even been as much of a target as we thought he'd be consistently, even though he's played well. So, I think it's all there. But again, we are asking a sophomore quarterback to play consistent football. Right. That may be asking too much, but it's fair to say, with the numbers saying it and with your eyes saying it, that continued trajectory like this should put him at least at the fringe of the conversation.
And the key there is winning games, which is why you get through Buffalo. They hit a sort of soft part of their schedule after that. But, man, if they can win that Buffalo game, this Patriots team and the quarterback are really on the right track. But that's our little spiel on Drake Maye. Now, I know we'll talk about it right now. We'll parlay that into our first piece of optimism from this game, and it is this Patriots passing attack. Now, I just kind of mentioned it towards the end there. He did only have 203 yards, but they were incredibly efficient. And they also, Taylor, put together a bunch of explosive plays. Diggs had his first 100-yard game. They had 6 passing plays of 18-plus yards. Drake Maye was only sacked once, and he took the blame on it after the game. I know you tweeted the clip out earlier. But explosive plays, efficient offense, 14 of 17, which, again, like I said, sort of sprung his completion percentage forward. And, yes, there's 2 more games tonight. I don't know where those quarterbacks are at. But right now, he leads the league in completion percentage. I know it's a basic stat, but it's right there in front of you. So what did you see from the passing offense? What did you see from the wide receivers themselves, the guys in front of Drake Maye to allow him to only get sacked once, and also the running backs both in pass pro and as an extension of that passing game?
Yeah, and it's important to remember that this is not like one of those Cliff Kingsbury offenses where he's feeding this dude screens that are going to naturally inflate your numbers, or like you see in college. There is quick game, but you don't see them throw a ton of screens. The screens don't really work for them. This isn't a very heavy RPO team. So there's a very good balance of Josh trying to create downfield shots, but also it's sometimes being like, we got to go to the quick game or we need to get the ball out efficiently. And Drake's done that, and you got to credit him as a sophomore. But the pass protection, again, it helped a lot, the fact that they were on schedule, so it put them in opportune situations where they didn't have to just straight drop back, hold on to the ball. But the Patriots offensive line was only accounted for 5 pressures. All of them were hurries. Drake was never hit because of the offensive line. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Quarterbacks have to navigate hurries, but you need to keep your quarterback clean so he can do that. Mike Nwenu, 1 hurry allowed. We have been very critical of him, so that was really good to see, especially against a big dude like Derek Brown. Morgan Moses, as I said earlier, 0 pressures allowed. Also, we're going to get to the rookie report, so I'm going to try to kind of talk around rookies, but we'll get to them.
Yeah, sure.
Promise. So the pass protection, very good. There were some times where the pockets got muddy. Like I think Garrett Bradbury and Ben Brown lost their edges a couple times. Guys got walked back. Will Campbell got walked back once. Nope. Just said I wasn't going to talk about the rookies. New segment.
We'll talk about that again later on. Yep.
Yeah, but for the most part, they were good, especially when Drake did just have to straight drop back. Receiving, Stephon Diggs coming out party. His first 100-yard game in a while. First as a Patriot, obviously. So he had 4 downfield targets. As we said, he had the 1 incompletion because of the skip pass, but he had 3 catches. So he was very good in that vein. 2 for 2 for 63 yards against man coverage. In zone, he ran the crossing route on 3rd and 15, found some free space. Drake Maye hit him. And then he also had the crossing route where he kind of used a stair step to get a little separation against Mike Jackson, and then beat Mike Jackson later on the back shoulder fade. So just really great to see Drake, Stephon Diggs building some chemistry. Not a lot of Hunter Henry in this game, but when he did make these catches, they counted. As I said, he made a catch in a tight window where Drake Maye showed some anticipation hitting him, and also the explosive touchdown. That was really cool to see. And Austin Hooper, an explosive gain on the first tight end screen we saw this season. Those were actually sneaky good plays for them last year where they couldn't really get the screen game going with the running backs, but Austin Hooper and them were just crushing it when they would kind of leak out there. So hopefully we see more of those. And again, I know it's a pass game, but I want to give Austin Hooper credit for his blocking, not just in the run game, but also in the receiving game, just understanding when he needed to kind of transition to that phase. So really great step in the right direction for the passing attack, and especially, again, 0 turnovers. Technically, Drake's turnover-worthy play wasn't one because it got batted up, so turnover worthy, but still obviously you want to be better in that vein. But much improved performance. Have to add the grain of salt that this is a Panthers defense that outside of its secondary and Derek Brown is pretty deprived of talent, especially veteran talent. But hey, you're supposed to kick their teeth in, and you did, so credit where it's due. And
that's the thing that, that's one of, not specific to the passing offense, but just a theme of this whole game to me, is that they did exactly that. And it's, they didn't play these guys tight, and they didn't let them back into the game. They didn't take a huge lead and then kind of succumb to it. The whole front runners thing that Vrabel had talked about. Like, no, they kept their foot on their throat and they just beat the shit out of them for 4 straight quarters. Like, and that's what it was. And it's, it's funny to say and you laugh and I get it, but like, that's exactly what they did. And that's what they were supposed to do. So that's the part that was almost most encouraging to me. And as far as just the, the passing attack and nitpicking, because I know we'll get to 2 reasons for improvement here for the Patriots, and really they are only nitpicking after a 42-13 win. But the first drive jitters were there a little bit for Drake, which it's not concerning, but it's noteworthy, I think, because he did have that behind the that throw behind Kayshon Boutte. But again, when they have the ability to play such complimentary football in this game and have Marcus Jones return that punt for a touchdown and then just kind of use that as a momentum shift, like, that's all you can ask for. They used that. It clicked after that. And the passing offense, continued to grow from there. So it did happen. You have to talk about it. But, they bounced back. And luckily, it wasn't an actual turnover. And Drake turned in, and the whole passing attack in general turned in a great performance. So, for our second piece of optimism here, we're going to flip it to the defensive side of the ball and talk about the pass rush. But first, I got to tell you guys about our friends over at PrizePicks, because as you know, this episode of Patriots Daily, as well as all episodes of Patriots Daily, are brought to you by our good friends over at PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss out on any of the excitement this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. It is Monday night. There are 2 games across the football sphere tonight. It is the Miami Dolphins versus the New York Jets, as well as the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Denver Broncos. Right now on PrizePicks, there is a discount on Bo Nix's passing yards. You can go for more than 199 passing yards for Bo Nix on the PrizePicks app. Right now, I am looking, and he has had, he's actually only had more than 199 yards passing once this season, but he's going up against a Cincinnati team that is just down for the count after the loss of Joe Burrow. So maybe they get something going there. But you can also get in on the action with, again, that other game, which is Jets versus Dolphins. So download the PrizePicks app. Check out all of the options there. It's super simple and easy to play. All you got to do is pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS, and you get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code CLNS. You will get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Again, shout out PrizePicks. 2 games tonight. If you want to get in on the action, download the app, use that code. And there are a couple games you can mix and match all your picks, 2 to 6 player props or player stat projections rather, and watch your winnings roll in. All right, back to Optimism. Another one here. It is the pass rush, as you have written down here, Taylor. They did only sack Bryce Young once, but with a Caleb on Chase and sack. But they made life hell for him. And there's no mistake about it. Christian Barmore was awesome. He had 5 pressures on 20 rushes. Mike Vrabel talked about him after the game or this morning and talked about his his ability to essentially wreak havoc back there, and the fact that he's not getting the numbers is starting to frustrate him. But they're kind of trying to sit him down and understand, look, don't get frustrated because you're making life hell for opposing quarterbacks. And the sack numbers aren't there, but when you get into these advanced stats, which I'm sure you'll talk about, Christian Barmore has been outstanding. So what'd you see from the pass rush across the board? Barmore, Milton Williams, Caleb on Chase, on all these guys, and how did they impact this game on Sunday?
Yeah, so the Patriots' pressure rate isn't great. They had a 31.6% pressure rate this week. That was the 9th lowest in week 4, but they are winning. They had a 60.5% pass rush win rate. That was the 11th highest in week 4. And that's kind of reflective of what we're talking about, right? No, you may not be getting sacks, and you may not necessarily be getting to the quarterback, but you're making him feel your presence. And Christian Barmore exemplified that. That dude, so he split a double team and wound up right at Bryce Young's feet. Anytime they left him one-on-one, he was either putting the pocket in Bryce Young's lap or he was using double swipes to just smoke guys. He did it once in one instantly and then just buried Bryce Young. I walked next to him at one point in the tunnel and I was like, oh my God, I can't imagine being smaller than I am and having Christian Barmore fall on top of me with the rate of speed he was going. He turned the corner and accelerated. It was scary. I felt bad for Bryce. So he had that hit. Also, there was a pretty blatant hold where he beat the guy again and got dragged down in the middle of the pocket. The officials didn't call it for some reason. They did call it in the run game, though. So, yeah, he was very disruptive. He had 2 quarterback hits. That was tied for the most among interior defenders in week 4 on top of 3 hurries. Also had a 25% pass rush win rate. That was tied for the 4th best among interior defenders. And I'm pretty sure he's top 10 this season in pass rush win rates. So Christian Barmore, like we talked about, may not be getting the conventional stats, but if you look deeper, he is performing well, which is just very scary because as you saw on Milton Williams, what really should have been his sack, but he wound up Bryce Young. He kind of ran him into Caleb on Chase on, who did a good job creating the edge and not letting Bryce Young get out. One thing that Mike Vrabel had kind of emphasized was that Bryce Young on 3rd down had gotten out of the pocket and created some yards on his own in conversions. So they really wanted to make sure that didn't happen. Milton Williams, so Barmore and Williams lined up in opposite A-gaps. No one over the center, which basically forces the center to say, hey, you got to slide this way or the other, but somebody's getting single team because at the angle they're at, it's very hard for anybody else to help. They slid to Barmore, and Milton Williams dusted a dude. Again, the double swipe move got right past him and then freaked out Bryce, and he just spun and landed in Chase on.
The seas parted, and Williams was just right at Bryce Young, pinpoint. I was like, oh, no, get out of the way.
And the guard got mad at the center. So I don't know if he was supposed to slide his way, but he looked like he was expecting some help but didn't get it. So Milton Williams only had 2 hurries. But again, when these guys have their wins, they are impactful wins, and they still make quarterbacks feel their presence. Caleb on Chase on had the sack, but he also had 3 hurries. He had a 31.6% pass rush win rate, which was 6th among edge defenders, in week 4. He's been really impressive. Again, other than some of the kind of boneheadish penalties where like every week he's getting flagged for something and it's rarely just one penalty. He is making impactful plays, and that's while he's getting chipped pretty consistently. So Callahan Chase on another impactful week. Also, as a run defender, like there were a couple runs where I wasn't sure how much credit I really had to put on him for the explosives, which I'll kind of get into later. But he did have, I think, 1 or 2 run stops. So really impactful guy against run and pass. Harold Landry had 1 quarterback hit, but he made it count. It was a play action where he quickly diagnosed it, knifed into the backfield, and buried Bryce Young. Also had 3 hurries. So this Patriots pass rush, man, like quarterbacks know that they're coming and they try to get the ball out quickly. But when they don't, it's a problem. And you also have guys that are winning, even if quarterbacks are getting the ball out of their hands in under 2.5 seconds. So another impressive performance from those guys. My only real critique, I'd say, there were some times they would try to run twists and it felt like they kind of just ran into each other. So I'd like to see better coordination there. Also, we saw some more pass rush fronts, specifically like they've shown some exotic-y kind of looks before, but this week I've been saying I wanted to see Keon White lined up on the inside. We finally got to see that. It was usually Milton Williams, and then he would line up either standing up or with his hand in the dirt, mostly with his hand in the dirt. He did get a pressure like the only time he was singled, but they kept putting attention over to his side, which is still pretty good because teams recognize that he is a pretty significant threat. So saw a little bit more of that. And saw one look where like it was 5 down, but Harold Landry was a linebacker on one side, and there were 3 defensive linemen at the other side. And there was another one where they basically inverted the defensive line with Milton Williams and Christian Barmore on the edges, and then Harold Landry and Callahan Chase on the inside. So saw some more kind of tinkering with the pass rush in terms of their rush fronts, and I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, another good day for the Patriots defensive line.
I want to say they've been on our up list pretty much every game. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're making life hell for these opposing quarterbacks. And now a different test this week coming up. I know we're trying to stick to the Carolina game, but I can't help but now look ahead because of just it excites me. Like it's going to be a fun game next week, and it's going to be a lot harder against the better offensive line in Buffalo, a better quarterback in Josh Allen. But I mean, right now you talk about Barmore, Milton Williams, White, Callahan Chase, like they're all doing their part to kind of be a cohesive front unit to really disrupt the quarterback, and it's super exciting to see. And I think that we talk about Christian Barmore being back with the health scare, and Milton Williams, they unload the Brinks truck on this guy, and he's doing exactly what they've wanted and more. So, when you think about, I don't want to call him a bust because he's not a bust. He's playing outstanding. But when you shell out that kind of cash to somebody who only played X amount of snaps with Philly, and you see him leave and they still continue to generate their own sort of pass rush in Philadelphia, it's like, what did this guy really mean to that? But no, this dude is a beast. He's a force. And he's really making a massive impact on the Patriots. So awesome to see. Good stuff on both sides of the ball here. And some great stuff on the third side of the football in the special teams unit, which is our third piece of optimism here. We already know about it. Marcus Jones had the touchdown that completely turned the tides for this game. You talk about Patriots defense takes on water, 7 points immediately to Bryce, or 6 points because they missed the kick to Bryce Young. And then they go 3-0, and it's like, oh no, what's happening here? But then the defense gets a stop. Marcus Jones returns the punt all the way. Gillette Stadium's going crazy. And, that, like I said, that really turned the tides. He also had another big return. Andy Borregales was 6 of 6 on extra points. We'll talk about him a little bit in the rookie report. But Bryce Behringer flipped the field for this team multiple times. It was mainly Marcus Jones who, what did he call himself? He called himself something after the game.
Ruthless.
He's ruthless. Yeah, he's ruthless back there. So he's been awesome. Captain, deserves all his flowers. But again, it wasn't just Jones, as you have in your notes. So what else did you see from the special teams unit that really helped them win this football game?
Yeah, well, I got to obviously start with Marcus Jones because the guy set a franchise record with 161 punt return yards. Crazy. Yep. Also, I tried to ask Jack Gibbons about it. He kind of went around the question, but I'm pretty sure that everybody else thought it was a fair catch because there were so many guys around him. I don't know if he said anything. It didn't look like he did, but everybody seemed to pull up, and then he catches it, obviously breaks a tackle, makes 2 guys miss, and then Jack Gibbons and Brendan Schooler were like, oh, shit, through last-minute blocks, and that kind of helped spring him. But like Mike Vrabel said, that was pretty much all Marcus Jones. Ridiculous return on his touchdown. But that wasn't the only big one he had. He had another where he almost scored, ended up getting tripped up by the punter, but he reversed field, broke 2 tackles near the sideline, which also is very impressive that he was able to keep his balance before ultimately getting tripped up. But that was another great return set up. I believe that was Antonio Gibson's touchdown run. Also broke 3 tackles on another return. So just fantastic day for Marcus Jones as a returner, but also Brendan Schooler. He was awesome. You could tell live. So he wound up with 3 solo special teams tackles. That was tied for the most in the NFL in week 4. He split a double when he was at gunner to force the returner to the sideline, combined with Darius Harris to contain a returner when he kind of started to reverse field. Looked like he might have had something there, but Harris came in at the last minute to kind of slow him down. Schooler wound up chasing him down. And then he also caused that bad return where they pinned the Panthers. I think it was at like their 5-yard line because it was one of the only times they put one guy on Brendan Schooler and he made them pay immediately. Wasn't even competitive. And then he kind of freaked out the returner a little bit. So great job at gunner, obviously. That's what's been sending him to the it's what made him an all-pro last year in NFLPA all-pro 2 years ago. Yep. Also made 2 blockers miss on a kickoff tackle, so he was contributing there as well. He also had, as I said, the key block on Marcus Jones's return touchdown, and he combined with Alex Austin. They just dominated somebody when they were a gunner, and that was on Marcus Jones's second big return. Like, they just stalled the guy at midfield, and he couldn't move. So Brendan Schooler was all over the field. Really good stuff from the All-Pro. Bryce Behringer, 2 of his 4 kicks landed inside the opposing 20-yard line. Also, 19 yards allowed on his 3 punts that were returned. And, of course, Brendan Schooler, as I mentioned, had a lot to do with that. So nice game from Bryce Behringer. Jack Gibbons also, man, he was active on defense and, as he usually is, on special teams. He had 3 tackles on kickoff, 2 of them being solo. And he, as I mentioned earlier, also had a key block on Marcus Jones's big return. So Jack Gibbons has really been good as a special teamer, him and Brendan Schooler, and obviously Marcus Jones. Like, with that return touchdown, with that day period, it's kind of hard to see how anyone's going to have a performance that takes another all-pro nod away from him. But this Patriots special teams unit is stacked, and they're making impact plays almost every week, which you obviously love to see. And that's the kind of stuff where when you do go into Buffalo and you're going up against these technically more talented teams, that's the kind of thing that makes the difference.
100%. He was awesome. He, as we said on the show last night, he's the best punt returner in all of football. And I don't want to see him on offense. I'm good. Let him play cornerback.
Yeah,
let him be
done with that. Like, please.
Let him be a dominant. I know Vrabel was asked about it yesterday. I know John mentioned it on our post-game show yesterday. And I get the question because for years we've wanted more explosiveness on offense. But after yesterday, that wasn't really the time to talk about it. That wasn't the time to ask about it. He's a great punt returner. He's a solid defensive player. He's one of this team's captains. Let's keep him healthy. Let's keep him where he's more comfortable. And I mean, I guess if you want to throw him in a gadget or 2, go for it. But we don't need to game plan on Marcus Jones for offense. He's just fine where he is. And he's going to make his money, like we said, on special teams as well as on defense, especially again with what we saw from the offense yesterday. The passing game was one of the ups or one of the keys for optimism here for today's show. So Marcus Jones is great. The whole unit was great yesterday. I'm glad you skipped Borogalis because we should give him his flowers later on. So unfortunately, are we going to call them reasons for improvement, or are they just simply nitpicks here? Are these ones actually improvement?
I will say this does need improvement because the Bills, that game is going to be one in the trenches. A lot of it. I think the quarterbacks are going to play a huge factor, obviously, but if they do not improve in these 2 areas, they are going to it's going to be a much tougher game than it might need to be.
All right. Well, that is a great tease, but we'll get to our next 2. Our next 2 topics here, 2 pieces for improvement from yesterday's game. But first, I got to tell you guys about our friends over at GameTime, the best place to get last-minute tickets across all sports, but especially in the NFL right now and this season. If you head over to the GameTime app right now, actually, you can try and get into Patriots at Bills this coming Sunday. Now, it is steep. It's a low price, or the lowest price is $249, but it's a perennial AFC contender in the Buffalo Bills. It's a Sunday Night Football primetime matchup, and it is against your New England Patriots, who right now look to be on the up and up. And that is actually the all-in price too, which is one of the best GameTime features. They do not, or they include the fees, so you can toggle that on, and your entire total up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. The app also has zone deals where you can save even more when you choose a section and let GameTime choose your seats. You can also see panoramic seat views from right in the app so you know exactly what it's going to look like at the stadium before you buy. And last but certainly not least, GameTime has the lowest price guarantee and will credit you up to 110% of the difference if you find a low price somewhere else. So take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with GameTime. Make sure you download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code CLNS. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS. You get $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the GameTime app today. Again, a low price of $249, but you take off $20 from that when you use code CLNS. You get into Orchard Park, New York, Highmark Stadium. Your last chance to go to Highmark Stadium as they knock it down and put the Bills in a new place right next season. So again, head over to GameTime, code CLNS, and you will get that deal there. All right, improvement time. How the hell do you improve off a 42-13 win, Taylor? Please tell me. First one, the run offense. Now, the good news is no turnovers, right? The running backs did not fumble yesterday, but the bad was they just couldn't get it blocked up, right? They ran for 104 yards, but there were a handful. They ran for 104 yards. There were a handful of explosive runs, which was promising. But it just wasn't pretty overall in the run game. So I want you to, or will you, break it down for us here and what you saw from that run game?
Of course I will, buddy. So
I sounded a little too demanding the way I said that. It's like I was like, break it down for us, Taylor. But no, please tell me what you saw from this run game.
Watch your mouth. So I actually just saw a chart on Twitter where the Patriots, it's basically like the graph is showing your efficiency as a rushing team and your efficiency as a passing team. The Patriots are fantastic passing. Like they were all the way on the right side of the board, but they're all the way at the bottom, which meant that their rushing efficiency has been terrible. You know who was at the other end of that spectrum in the top right? So basically just saying they're good at everything. The Bills.
Okay.
The Bills are a freaking juggernaut. And as I said, I do not fear the Bills. I fear Josh Allen, but I also I did amend to go on to say, yeah, but they also have a very good run game, and you do need to care about James Cook. And I've said for a long time they have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. It's more that defense and the receiving core that I'm not terribly afraid of. But if this Patriots rushing offense, we saw the explosive plays. And I think the whole misdirection theme that we saw last week against the Panthers, which was like really bad, like their eye discipline was atrocious, and that really helped a lot. But what Josh always does is try to use misdirection against the Bills. Even I think Alex Van Pelt did it. That's always a big theme because they're an aggressive defense. They're a fast-flowing defense. You want to get them going one way and exploit them the other. So it was good to see that the misdirection stuff did work, led to 3 explosive plays. You had the jet sweep to Antonio Gibson. Then the next play, you had a jet action from Travion Henderson. Then Ramondre Stevenson took a really well-designed duo play where Austin Hooper actually kind of wrapped around and left the guy unblocked because he was frozen by the action. Ramondre Stevenson hit that. And then you also had the end around to Travion Henderson. But the conventional run game wasn't great. Part of that was, again, tight ends just having rough matchups up front and kind of having, whether because there weren't great double teams that helped them or because just based on the look they had to have a one-on-one matchup, they just can't really hold up in those situations. I'll get to Will Campbell later, but he wasn't, perfect. The biggest thing is really just sustaining blocks, where a lot of the time you'll see somebody give a chip, but then it doesn't get the right amount of movement, and the person who is sustaining the block can't hold on, and they end up falling off late. We also saw more power runs. I thought those did pretty well. They just didn't get more than like 4 yards a pop. So it just feels like this run game, you finally got some explosives, which you like, but it also just feels like sometimes they'll get like a decent like 5 or 6 yard chunk, but a lot of the times they're just running into 2 and 1 yard games. That's got to be fixed. That's one area I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into as well, and we're going to talk about a lot more as the Bills are we get ready for the Bills more directly. But yeah, their rushing offense needs to be better, because if you do get into a game where Josh Allen's cooking, you want to be able to slow things down. That's very hard to do, especially against a defense like the Bills. It is well coached. I just think they do have some things you can exploit. But, I mean, if you just become one-dimensional, it's really going to hurt you against these guys.
And on the other side, we'll get right into it. As you can tell, I don't want to, I don't know if it's bias. I don't know if it's the fact that they did win by, 30 points yesterday, but I don't want to try not to harp on the improvement. I get that it has to be done, but the run offense wasn't great, but you still were able to score 35 points on offense. You made it happen. So say that again.
No, I'm not complaining. It's still there has to be something, right? Like the coaches are going in and saying, "Hey, we were perfect." They're like, "No, we
do it again." Right.
This. And for the same reason as the other, this is one particular week where this isn't a team that's going to lay down. Like oh my God, I feel like I'm going to regret saying I do not fear the Bills, but because I
saw that clip.
I think it's a game that is very winnable for them. So, 100%. But you got to get better in those areas.
Yep. The other one right now is the run defense. Panthers run for 129 yards on 28 carries. Chuba Hubbard was just under 5 yards per carry. They had 4 explosive runs. It seemed like, I forget who, it was Milton Williams or Christian Barmore said after the game that they kind of tried to take those guys out of the run and the pass game a little bit. But they weren't able to necessarily stop this Panthers rushing attack as much as they would have wanted to. So what did you see? How can they improve on it? Especially, again, now going up against a Buffalo team that James Cook, one of the better backs in football this year. Josh Allen, a mobile quarterback. They're going to have to contain him not only in the pass game, but in the run game as well.
Yeah, because, Mike Vrabel said that Josh Allen is also a running back as well as obviously a fantastic passer. And this Bills offense, they can push the line of scrimmage, but they also do a great job of creating opportunities for their guys to win sideline to sideline. So Josh Allen, you'll see plays where James Cook's going this way, and it's kind of like the counter bash we saw with the Patriots, where the guards are actually pulling for the quarterback, not the running back. So your eyes need to be in the right place. Guys need to be assignment sound. And really, they need to hold up on the edges because that's where things have gone wrong for the Patriots run defense. You don't see a whole lot of big runs inside. There were a few last week against the Steelers, but I feel like that was, there were spurts of it, but it wasn't a consistent problem. This week, it was runs at Keon White and Caleb Chason. I don't know when Caleb Chason was always at fault. There was one where he got 2 guys on the ground, so you wanted him to create a mess. But it felt like Christian Ellis sometimes when he was the linebacker at the point of attack didn't fill as quickly as he could have. But you also had one. So most of them went to the left side again. Like Keon wasn't great. A lot of runs stressing the linebackers, forcing them to run laterally, which, against James Cook, that's why I say I think it's got to be a Marte Mapu game because I don't think you can have Spillane and Spillane and Jack Gibbons or even Christian Ellis being the guys to chase sideline to sideline, especially with Ellis, who was better as a tackler. He had 2 stops and 1 missed tackle, but even still, there were some times where I just thought, again, he was slow to get to the point of attack. There was also, as I said earlier, another play where Anthony Jennings and Kyle Duggar both got caught inside for a run that ended up getting bounced. So they had 4 explosive runs allowed. That was double what they allowed against the Steelers. I think it was only 2. And they allowed 7 conversions. That's the second week in a row, actually, they allowed 7 conversions. But last week, it was in more short yardage situations. So you got to tighten up because the Bills will happily just hand off to James Cook and let him eat. And then when you're in a position where you have to be thinking about him, that's when it's really scary because then, Josh Allen still has the ball and he's throwing over your head. So, even if I think the Patriots can hang with this receiving core, it's better when they're in situations where they can play man and don't get gashed, and you can at least have some idea of what kind of plays are coming at you.
And that's why it's important to talk about these improvements. I was only, I was saying it tongue in cheek the last segment where I don't want to talk about these things because they won, but it's like when yes, it's the Carolina Panthers. Now you go up against the Buffalo Bills, who do have a solid rushing attack. You do have a quarterback in Josh Allen that can move the ball not only through the air, but with his legs. You got to tighten these things up when you're heading into better opponents, primetime games, games that frankly matter more this weekend than they did last weekend, etc. So 2 places to the Patriots can improve, hopefully give themselves a better chance to beat the Bills next weekend, again, is the rushing offense as well as the rushing defense. We do have one more segment here for you. Shout out Andrew De Silva, friend of the show. He commented this earlier. Woo Rookie Report. Thank you for the idea. Thank you for the request. We're going to get to it in just a second. We do also have to shout out our friend James Lake, who became a member of the Patriots Press Pass channel today. Thank you so much. We appreciate the support. We have our weekly Discords, James. If you want to come in on Friday, you can now ask questions on our Discord stage. You can also get exclusive access to plenty of other videos here on the channel as well. So shout out. Thank you for joining. If you want to join, you can do so on the channel right now. We have several membership tiers if you haven't already seen them. It's one of the promos on the channel too, so you can get all your info there. So we'll be here for the Rookie Report in just a second, but we do have one final ad read. It's about our good friends over at Omaha Steaks. New ad. Excited about this one. We love our meats on the Patriots Daily Podcast. Here, there's Taylor's eyes. But look at that burger.
I do like
right.
I do like steak and whatnot, though.
We like steak. We like burgers. We like chicken. We like to eat right here on the Patriots Daily Podcast. And whether it's meal planning, whether it's hosting holidays, or simply gifting, the importance of having high quality food on hand, it's convenient, it's heartwarming, and it lets you enjoy it. And you can do so with our friends over at Omaha Steaks. You can enjoy USDA certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, cozy and convenient comfort meals, and so much more. They're having an early Black Friday sale. I know it's only September 29th on the day of this podcast, but Black Friday is coming up soon, and it is an early Black Friday sale right now. I've used Omaha Steaks in the past. They're some of the best quality meats around, so make sure, and I'm going to try and play this ad over again right now. There's Omaha Steaks. You can save with Omaha Steaks if you visit omahasteaks.com, and you get 50% off site-wide right now, and you also get an extra 20% off during their early Black Friday sale. So go to omahasteaks.com, you get that 50% off, you get 20% off on top of it, and use code PATRIOTS to get an extra 35% off. So you're basically getting free steaks on Omaha Steaks. Again, 50% off site-wide, 20% off select deals for the early Black Friday sale, and then use code PATRIOTS, and you get an extra 35% off. Minimum purchase may apply. Make sure you see the site for more details. And again, a big thanks to our friends over at Omaha Steaks. I had to do it. I'll talk to you after the show. Never mind. It's a we'll talk about what happened yesterday during the pregame show. But we're back to it. We're going to do the rookie report as requested by our friend Andrew De Silva, friend of the show. And we'll start with the first round pick, the 4th overall pick, Will Campbell, who's been outstanding to start his career. I know he's had a couple of hiccups, but the short arms, the T-Rex questions, all that stuff has not been concerned at all. Will Campbell's looked awesome. He helped protect Drake Maye yesterday. Only 1 sack of the quarterback overall, and it was not on Will Campbell. So what'd you see from the rookie left tackle?
So there was some up and down. Good. No pressures allowed. Again, with the caveat of this was a game where there were a lot of opportunities through scheme where he wasn't really put on an island. But when he was, he looked good outside of getting walked back that one time. He buried Nick Scorton on the backside of a power run. He had some good cut blocks where he got Scorton on the ground to create some throwing lanes for Drake Maye. Had a strong combo with Ben Brown on duo in the red zone, as well as on the outside zone touchdown for Antonio Gibson. Had a key second-level block on Henderson's end around, and also had a strong backside combo with Hooper on an outside zone play. Now, the bad, he did whiff on a run in the low red zone pretty badly and then wasn't able to get to the second level as well. He got stood up on a short yardage run. Again, got walked back on that one quick throw, missed a backside block on outside zone, and he had a late loss on a power combo with Austin Hooper in the low red zone. So at the end of the day, clean sheet and pass pro. This is his 2nd career game with 0 pressures allowed. I don't care who you're going up against. It's the NFL. Kudos to you, young man. So great job there. Also, again, there was good in the run game, but I think it's really more of like a pad level thing. And obviously, you got to make contact and not wind up on the ground. But for the most part, good game from Will Campbell. Just need to see better from him as a run blocker.
Super promising for a guy who comes in as the 4th overall pick. They spend premium draft capital on him. And to be frank, had some question marks coming in. I mean, I talked about the arm length, but we talked about the frame too, the build, the tight shoulders. And so far through 4 games, he's looked every bit of a left tackle. There's been no question about, sliding him into guard, putting on the bench. They put him at left tackle. They kept him at left tackle. And that's noteworthy too for me, for, a Mike Vrabel-led team, because when those, the Titans drafted Skarossi a couple years ago, they tried him at tackle. They didn't like him at tackle, and they bumped him in almost immediately. Where Will Campbell, they liked him at tackle. They put him at tackle, and he's done enough to stay at tackle. So it's great stuff. It looks like you have, at least through 4 games, a promising bookend for Drake Maye's blindside. So that's Will Campbell. We'll move on to Craig Woodson, the rookie 4th round pick, who again showed out in the back end. And, we know that he's past Kyle Duggar on the depth chart. His performance in preseason, as well as Jalen Hawkins' performance in preseason, essentially forced the Patriots to move on from a guy in Jabril Peppers. And Woodson did it again yesterday, both in the pass game and the run game. So what did you see from number 31?
So another rookie performance that was up and down, but I like the flashes I saw. So he almost had an interception on that 3rd and 15 where Bryce, probably not a great decision to throw where he did because Woodson was clearly waiting for him to do it. but just closed on the throw, created a collision. Davis got banged up. That was unfortunate. But again, like you like his awareness in that situation and trying to make a play. Also made a tackle in space on the flat on a 3rd and 3 stop. And he had a physical tackle on a 3rd and 1 stop at the goal line. So you like to see that. He did get stiff-armed and miss a tackle on a bootleg completion. He missed his jam and got picked on that corner touchdown. I asked if he got picked. He said, no, I'm just doing my job. But I mean, you can see like Ellis, for some reason, like it wasn't totally Ellis's fault. Like I think Woodson got forced to kind of extend because Tommy Tremble gave him a little move. So Woodson was outside, which basically forced him to whiff on the jam. Didn't force him. It just led to him whiffing on the jam. And then as he was trying to recover, Ellis like kind of hooked his arm or something. I don't know. It was really bizarre. But Woodson almost recovered. It makes you think if he didn't get picked, maybe he could have actually affected the play. He also missed a tackle in space against Tet McMillan while he was at post safety. I don't like seeing missed tackles at post safety, so that was a little upsetting. He also got picked and fell on the late touchdown. Like it was bad. Like he just got like lit up. And I don't know if that's exactly the one that Vrabel was talking about. But he was talking about like a weak side pick play that they work on all the time. He didn't sound very happy necessarily. Again, I'm not sure if that was exactly the play, but the quality of it, like I don't really care that it's a pick, man. You got to be competitive. And it was a wide open touchdown. So man coverage was a bit of an issue. Like that's one thing I'll be looking at is Woodson going to be the guy to cover Dawson Knox? I don't know that I necessarily love that. But I don't necessarily love it with Duggar either. So we'll see how that matchup goes. But yeah, you know, some standout plays from Craig Woodson, but also definitely plenty to work on.
Yeah, the whole Bills matchup is exciting and concerns me because you just mentioned the safeties and having these one young guy in Woodson having to go up against those tight ends, but then someone in Jalen Hawkins who is a veteran. He's shown it, but it should be interesting. We'll see if they end up matching Woodson up on some of those guys. We'll flip it over to the offense now. Travion Henderson, rookie 2nd round pick. Snaps, I think, technically decreased from last week because he got a significant amount of run after Ramondre fumbled in week 3, but looked okay, scored his first NFL touchdown, but he did have that rep in pass pro that concerned me where it looked good, and then after further review, it was a hold, and it brought the Patriots back again. So on the whole, some struggles in the passing game for Travion, but he did score his first touchdown as a pro. What did you see from the rookie, and is he showing you enough to warrant a potential increase in snap count?
I'm fine with how he's being used right now, to be honest. There wasn't anything that was so eye-popping, but still, it was more good than bad for him. We'll start with the bad. Had the holding penalty on his only pass pro rep. It's not very efficient. I don't know what it is. I don't know why he keeps bringing these guys to the ground. I don't know if it was something that was happening in the summer that they weren't specifically coaching up, but like that's got to change because it's becoming a consistent problem for him. And I gave him credit last week for doing better on a blitz rep after initially kind of making a mistake. He couldn't make a safety miss on the screen. It was pretty well blocked. He literally just had to make that one guy make him slip out of that tackle, and he would have been with some space. Couldn't do that. Also just barely missed a block on a Drake Maye scramble where Drake Maye ended up getting hit by a guy. I don't know how much you put that on him, but it just kind of stood out when I was watching it. But on the positive side, slipped a tackle on counter bash when he got the handoff opposite the Polars, so did make somebody miss there. Drew attention on Ramondre Stevenson's explosive run. That kind of shows you the respect he has, but also kind of, again, how bad the Panthers' second level was in their eye discipline. Great patience, pad level, and power on his touchdown run. Also some fantastic blocking that he capitalized on, but that was the kind of play. And I thought overall he was much more decisive in this game and not in a way that felt rushed. So it definitely felt like I thought he looked more comfortable this week for sure. Cleanly fielded I think it was a dirty kick, but whatever it was, it kind of hit the turf and bobbled a little bit, but he fielded it cleanly and then was able to actually break a tackle and rip off a return that set up the offense at their own 40-yard line. So that was a positive. And especially for a rookie, you were wondering, like, they've been talking about, you got to attack those kicks, but it landed short. So in my head, I was very nervous about Travion Henderson being put in that situation. No offense to him, but he's a rookie. Those are tough to field. He did a very good job. Also followed his blocks well on an end around. Wasn't able to make anything more of it. I think that's the one thing. I wished I'd seen him make more guys miss, but for the most part, I thought he was a net positive on the field.
Okay, only one play dialed up for rookie wide receiver Kyle Williams. It was a loss on an end around. No targets in the passing game. So, yes, the wide receiver room looked a lot better yesterday. No question about it. Pop's snaps increased, though he does have the I'm not even going to get into Pop's block because we're not talking about Pop today, but his snaps decrease. Stephon Diggs' increase. The passing offense as a whole looks pretty good, but still no involvement for Kyle Williams. So what did you see from him today? Yesterday rather, was it promising? Do you want his snaps to increase? What did you see from number 18 out of Washington State?
Again, I'm fine. Really more his impact was just being on the field.
Okay.
This was a game where typically when he's on the field, he gets like one target. He didn't get one. And I'm not sure that he really should have either necessarily, but he ran 2 posts where one, he cleared out room on a Travion Henderson check down where I think he had like 9 yards. That was another one where he couldn't make a guy miss in space, but like Kyle Williams just took off and cleared out coverage. And on Stephon Diggs' over route, part of the reason he had space towards the sideline was Kyle Williams partially running off coverage, and then the guy eventually figured it out. But again, got to give him credit there. Did get brought down for a loss on the end around. Mac Hollins' assignment ended up making the tackle, so it wasn't a very effective block there. Not really a negative for Kyle Williams. Maybe he could have slipped out, but he didn't. That was pretty much it. He only got a handful of snaps. Some of them were in garbage time. Some of them were, I think, kneel downs or something. So
yeah,
I think if anything, this was maybe one of his lesser roles, even though the snap count might not have indicated it, but nothing necessarily stood out. But again, the veterans are playing well. Kyle Williams is a bonus, and as much
100%
speed, and they're still like mixing him in and using him in those kinds of patterns. But I'm good with what they're doing right now.
Well, and that's my sort of takeaway / like big thought on Kyle Williams so far through 4 games is it's not like the wide receiver, like I said before, it's not like the wide receiver room is throwing up a stinker and they're still not allowing the rookie to get a chance. They've played pretty well, aside from, again, I don't want to keep harping on Pop because he did what his job was yesterday, but it's the wide receivers have been fine. If they weren't fine, or when they start to, their play sort of starts to decrease and we still don't see Kyle Williams, that's what will get aggravating. You start to ask questions, but he's been fine with what he's asked to do, continue to learn to grow in the background and behind the scenes. We talked about it last week a little bit where these rookies or even new guys in the system, it's difficult to pick it up right away. So not concerned necessarily about him yet. I do want to get to the 2 special teams rookies, Andy Borregales and Julian Ashby. But since this was a blowout, a couple guys in the trenches, Joshua Farmer and Marcus Bryant, got some reps on Sunday later on in the game. What did you see from Joshua Farmer, the 4th-round pick out of Florida State, in the reps he got in the trenches on the defensive line?
So Farmer's actually been in the mix pretty consistently this whole season. Like the interior, obviously, is Barmore and Milt Williams. Kyrus Tonga is the 3rd guy. Then they've actually been giving Corey Durden, who also had a pretty good game today. Durden's been a nice pickup for them. I like what he's done. He's a big guy. He's got some power, some quickness in his first step. And then Joshua Farmer's kind of the 5th guy, but they rotate a ton. So he had a good stack and shed versus the left guard to help on a stop versus a running back. I think Ellis wound up making the tackle. Also looped over Tonga and made a tackle with Carolina backed up near their own end zone. And he helped create a pile on that late 3rd and 1 stuff at the goal line. Bad was he was a non-factor as a pass rusher. And he's had some moments as a pass rusher where I was kind of surprised this week. Basically didn't exist on those plays. He was slow to recognize a screen where I felt like it was happening right next to him or behind him, and he kept rushing when he probably should have tried to retrace. And he got moved by a couple double teams, I think twice. But, pretty even performance. He made some plays and things that you're happy with, but also don't want to see him get moved by double teams as more of like a run defending player. And you'd like to see a little bit more from him as a pass rusher, but he's still pretty raw in that area.
And Marcus Bryant, talk to me about him. The rookie right tackle comes in, and again, in some garbage time, Josh Dobbs comes in at quarterback to rotate the offensive line out. And was he a 7th rounder or a 6th rounder out of Missouri? Not that it matters. 7th rounder. Marcus Bryant comes in. What'd you see from him?
So not a ton of significant snaps. I think he had like 5. Latched on to Derek Brown. There was a draw play where I thought Derek Brown was going to get away, and he kind of kept him in his frame. That was pretty cool. Got knocked back by Scorton on a quick throw. Wasn't that big of a deal. But again, he wasn't even the jumbo tight end I thought he was going to be. It was with Darian Lowe, who had a decent block on the one of the touch. It was the Gibson touchdown. But yeah, just not a lot from Marcus Bryant, to be honest, to go on. It was like, I think he had 5 snaps that weren't kneel downs, and a few of them just nothing happened.
He's a rookie. He got snaps, so we had to at least throw in the mix. But the big one here, Taylor, is Andy Borregales. Not to bury the lead, goes 6 for 6 on PATs. No chances at field goals and a 42-point output for this offense, but he looked consistent. He looked ready to go. So I'll give you Andy Borregales, what you saw from him, and then I'll also throw Julian Ashby into the mix as well. The long snapper, who comes in and has taken over and has looked solid in that regard so far. So special teams rookies, what'd you see from them before we get out of here?
Yeah, so Andy Borregales, most extra points in the NFL, went 6 for 6. That is a career high for the rookie, so awesome for him. Had the second most average hang time on kickoffs at 4.03 seconds. Also the fifth fewest average yards per return at 23.2, which again is big because there were a couple of times where it looked like guys were going to get some pretty good returns off, but Andy Borregales' hang time obviously helped guys get to the returner, and then they did a really good job from there. So Andy Borregales, showing up positively in the stat sheets in a day where he was very busy. No field goal attempts, though, of course. Julian Ashby didn't see any wild snaps. Not going to pretend to be a long snapper expert, but when I looked, I didn't see anything that was like, ooh, make life a little hard on Behringer. Got pancaked on a punt in the first quarter and got pushed back a couple of times, but he's more athlete than he is, Mahler. So that happens sometimes. It hasn't worked against him. Nothing's been blocked. So I'm not going to complain for right now, but, fine day for Julian Ashby and really good day for Andy Borregales.
Good stuff. Rookies looked okay. Some ups, some downs, but, on a team that is
expect.
I was going to say ups and downs from the rookies. 2-2, this team continues to build. You're going to have to rely on those young guys here and there. And, it's good to see them, at least some of them in the back end, talk about Marcus Bryant, get in on some action with the 42-13 blowout of the Carolina Panthers on Sunday. So, as always, Taylor, great stuff. Appreciate the hard work you put into these shows. And every single day here on Patriots CLNS. To recap, Drake Maye has a great day. Highly efficient, 17 of 20 for 203 yards, 3 total touchdowns, 3 areas for optimism, 2 for improvement. Passing offense was great. Pass rush was solid. Special teams, as we know, Marcus Jones returns a kick, outstanding. To improve run defense and run offense ahead of next weekend's huge matchup. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it against Buffalo Bills on Sunday night. As you can tell, throughout the past hour, I'm geared up. I'm fired up for some Sunday Night Football. Patriots versus Bills once again, and close it out here with a rookie report. So if you missed any of it, rewind, check it all out. Rate, review, and subscribe to Patriots Press Pass here. As always, tons of awesome stuff. Alex and Brian were on before us on Patriots Beat. We got Andrew Callahan, Mike Giardi coming up later on here. Shocking to me again, still that 4 weeks in a row, Giardi's doing a podcast past 8 o'clock. Can't the old man can keep it going here at least on Monday nights. So make sure to keep it here. Tune in to those guys. A reminder: powered by PrizePicks, GameTime, and Omaha Steaks this week. So if you didn't hear it, check out those guys as well. Use code CLNS on PrizePicks and GameTime. You get some exclusive offers. And Omaha Steaks, use code Patriots and get some offers there as well. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll have some more content throughout the rest of the week here as the Pats gear up for the Bills this coming Sunday. So until next time, thanks for tuning in. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we will see you next time here on Patriots Daily. Peace out, everyone.
Bye.